All right, we're back here on SportsLine. Kevin Fiala, 16 minutes, 44 seconds into overtime. The game winner last night. Predators come back from 2-0 down after 2 periods to beat the Blackhawks 3-2 at overtime and take a commanding 3-0 series lead over the rival Blackhawks heading into Game 4 on Thursday night at Bridgestone Arena at 7 o'clock. More than 17,000 in the building last night. I was one of them. A lot of people witnessed what was really a historic goal in overtime for Fiala and the Predators, but only one person there last night got to go on the ice last night afterwards with some of the guys, and that would be Lyndsay Rowley, the Fox Sports Tennessee ringside reporter. You can catch her on all the local Predators broadcasts, and Lyndsay did a terrific job last night with sorting out all of the emotions of what was a crazy emotional game and the first 3-0 series lead in Predators franchise history. Lyndsay joins us now. Lyndsay, take me through those moments. First off, where were you when Fiala shoots and scores and the game ends? What's your vantage point at that point? And then what are those fleeting moments thereafter where you have to get ready to immediately go out there and interview him and then several other players and Coach Laviolette as well after one of the biggest wins in franchise history?
Well, it's actually a really good question. No one's asked me that question all day, but it's actually pretty interesting. I got made fun of pretty good for it afterwards because when Kevin scored the goal, I was sitting there frantically trying to, of course, not hoping that the Preds would not lose, but in that situation, have to still do an interview afterwards. So for me, in those situations, whether it's regular season, postseason, whatever it is, I'm prepping like 3 or 4 different interviews depending on what's about to happen and have to be ready to go at the drop of a hat. So at that point, I'm prepping, I'm looking up and down at the monitor, and I realized Kevin scored. Everybody who was back there on the Predators staff went nuts. I jump out of my seat and just run to the bench. I forget everything. I didn't bring my notebook. I didn't bring my microphone. I just ran. And one of the guys I work with is running behind me, and he's like, Lyndsay, you might need this. You might need this. I just got so excited, just as everybody in the building did, that I just completely blanked and forgot everything. So I had to go back, get everything, go back out to the bench. But when I walked onto the bench, it was truly one of the most memorable moments, I think, probably that will end up being of my career. I mean, the goosebumps, the whole 9 yards, and I wasn't even on the ice. I wasn't a player. And like you said, everyone in that building could feel that energy, but to be able to walk on the bench and be there and see the arena from my vantage point of being on the bench and then getting to talk to Kevin Fiala right after he scored that game winner, it's a moment I know I'll never forget in my career. And we all saw that interview. You saw how excited Kevin was. He almost at the beginning of the interview had to get into a rhythm a little bit because he was so excited about what had just happened. And I don't blame him. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world because if I did just scored the game winner in overtime, I'm not so sure I would have been able to step up to an interview afterwards after, the team basically tackled him on the ice.
Right.
So it was incredible.
I talked to him about 10 minutes later, and he was still smiling ear to ear, that's for sure. And for everybody in the building, they witnessed him just miss twice prior to that game-winning goal. Just talk about his perseverance to have a couple of close calls there in overtime that would have won the game and to stick with it and ultimately get the game winner.
Oh, I couldn't be more happy for him. Also, like you said, he had some close calls, and I guarantee you, if it would have gone the other way, of course, Kevin would have been kicking himself because he had some great plays that he made up and down the ice. And, I spoke with Coach Laviolette afterwards, and Kevin Fiala was noticeable before overtime, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's one of the best games I've seen him play, even in regulation, and especially in that third period. Coach Laviolette through the whole year has said when Kevin Fiala is playing his best, he's not turning the puck over, obviously, but he's noticeably moving his feet. He's picking up the pace. He's pushing the pace of the game. And so last night, that was something he was able to do. And then we got to see it particularly in overtime. And Coach Laviolette afterwards, he did say, yes, that's one of the better games I've seen Fiala play, but he was the most noticeable in overtime. That was by far his best period. And, I know how hard it is for these guys. I see them, they come from Milwaukee, they go up, they go down. And Kevin's one of those guys who's had to really work his way into this lineup. So it was really great to see him not only be able to contribute, but be able to get the game-winning goal in overtime. I couldn't be happier for him.
Lyndsay Rowley, the ringside reporter for Fox Sports Tennessee, the Predators broadcast, joining us. You can follow her on Twitter at Lyndsay Rowley. Lyndsay, you mentioned Kevin's ability to pick up the pace. To me, that's been the key of the series, is the fact that the Predators have frankly outskated the normally very speedy Blackhawks. How much credit do you give Peter Laviolette for his lineup choices in this series, whether it be Fiala full-time or Panis Aberg or Harry Zolnierczyk, who is really the hero in game number 2? Guys who maybe didn't have the biggest roles on this roster during the regular season, but have now become heroes, frankly, in the postseason.
Oh, definitely. You're absolutely right. I mean, you've got to give Coach Laviolette a world of credit, and he's such a humble man. You know, even with me, sometimes it's almost difficult to interview him because he is so humble, and that's a credit to him. You know, he's had incredible experience through this league on teams that have had down years, and of course we all know he's won the Stanley Cup. So he's been there, he's had his experience, but as you said, we've seen some guys step up throughout this series that aren't the guys that necessarily you maybe would have predicted. And I spoke with Coach Laviolette about that, seeing some of those guys get their very first playoff goals, you know, and how amazing that is for him. And he said, it's great for our team because you expect to go into a series, especially against a team like the Blackhawks, and you expect your top line, you know, that Jofa line, to go up against the Blackhawks top line and to go up against their top D pairing. And there's a chance they're going to get shut down. That's the whole objective of your opponent, is to shut down your top line. So he said not only was it incredible to see his top line be able to produce and get through those challenges, but to know that lines 2, 3, and 4 are also going to be able to contribute. Like you mentioned, Harry Z, another guy, so great, works so hard on and off the ice, a great guy in the locker room, and to see him be able to contribute, guys like him and Colton Sissons, and all of us were shocked. Me, personally, I was, that Ryan Ellis has never scored a playoff goal. When I read that stat, it's hard to believe after the year he's had that he hasn't had a playoff goal in the past. But again, Ellie deserves it as well, to be able to contribute and get on the board and put some points up for his team in the series.
A lot of unsung heroes, which you need in any Stanley Cup playoff run. But of course, the expected one, Pekka Rinne. 141 minutes, 5 seconds to start the series without allowing a goal to one of the most potent offenses in hockey. The first 2 road playoff shutouts in Predators history. He's been good a lot in his career, but is this the best Pekka Rinne has been?
In my opinion, yes. In my opinion, this is the best I've ever seen Pekka play. Even before I was a reporter with the Predators, you know, I still watched hockey and saw Pekka. And in my opinion, this is the best we've seen out of him. And it's really tremendous to see. You know, I was getting off the bus at the same time as him in Chicago and walking. And, you know, Pekka's that guy, like, yes, he's focused on the game, but he's very laid back. He's very, you know, just a nice guy, very humble, as we've all seen. And I was just like, hey, good luck tonight, Pex. And he was like, thanks, I'm really excited. And I was like, you ready? Just kind of joking with him a little bit. And he said, Lindsay, my only issue with this whole thing is that we haven't dropped the puck yet. I've been ready for this. So this is something I think, and I had also spoken with him in a media scrum a little bit about how if those memories of 2015 and 2010, if they come back for him, because he was there for both. And, you know, he played all 6 games in both of those series. And he said, absolutely, all of those memories come back to me, and they're hard for those memories to go away, but it's not, I don't look back and look at it negatively. There's still some great memories that came from those, and the ones that aren't as positive, that just fuels me even more to be ready to play this team. And he also mentioned, of course, you know, it being a Central Division rivalry, that just kind of adds more fuel to the fire, if that's even possible this time of year. But I thought it was so interesting. We talked about this on the broadcast last night, how Pekka, after games 1 and 2, he was asked about, you know, how incredible he felt and how he felt about his game. And he said, oh, well, you know, my defense is playing so well in front of me that a lot of the saves I have to make are easy. And I think all of us kind of rolled our eyes a little bit like, Pekka, a lot of those saves are not easy, buddy. But that quote got brought up to Peter Laviolette in a media scrum, and I don't know if you saw this, Steve, but he kind of paused a little bit, and he goes, well, Pekka is lying.
Right.
And those saves were not easy. Our defense played great, but Pekka has been incredible and has kept our team going and the Blackhawks off the board.
He certainly has. And you mentioned that 2010 series, which I think every Predator fan remembers because they were so close in that series to getting over the hump. And that comeback in Game 5 and then the win in Game 6 for the Blackhawks was essentially what launched the Blackhawks dynasty. Then a Stanley Cup title that year, 2 more in the next 7 years. Now here we are on the verge on Thursday night of the Predators maybe ending that dynasty with a sweep in round 1 with Pekka in net. So we kind of come all full circle here. Credit to the Blackhawks, because I thought they gave everything they had last night in Game 3 in an impossible environment against a team that's red hot and a goaltender that's red hot. But what do they have left in your mind, Lindsay, for Thursday night after the beatdowns, frankly, they've taken in the first 3 games, and then the disappointment of blowing that 2-0 lead and losing an emotional game in Game 3 last night in overtime?
Well, first of all, I just got goosebumps when you said that the Predators might sweep the Blackhawks. That's incredible to even think about. Even for, I'm sure for you, thinking back to that 2010 series that was such a heartbreaker, and then 2015, it's never easy to lose a series in the playoffs, especially not to a rival, whether it's the way it was in 2010 or the way it was in 2015. So you know that those memories are in the back of all those guys' minds, whether they played in both, played in one of them, or if they didn't play in either of them, and some of our youngsters are just hearing the stories of that and know the rivalry that is between these two teams. But I spoke with Coach Laviolette yesterday, and he said, you know, we're not taking the Blackhawks for granted at any point in time. It doesn't matter what number the game is, what the score is. This team has proven over the years that they can win any game at any point in time. Does not matter what the score is, doesn't matter what period it is. I think there was some stat coming into postseason that there was 20 times throughout the year that the Blackhawks had scored with 5.5 minutes left or less, or in overtime, that went on to a win. So this is a team that they flat out know how to win. Coach Laviolette says that all the time. There's those teams, they just know how to find a way to win. And the Blackhawks have sort of earned that identity over the years. So I don't think anybody on the coaching staff, on the team, no one is taking them for granted. I remember hearing from Matthias Ekholm and him talking about this series and saying, you know, at that point it was after Game 2, and him saying, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is great. It's great to be up 2-0, but 2 wins doesn't win the series. So I'm almost imagining that they're going to have that same mindset going into Thursday. 3 wins doesn't win the series. This isn't over. And if there's any team in the league that's probably capable of coming back, the Blackhawks are fully capable. Now, I think the Predators are also fully capable of shutting this thing out on Thursday. And as you said, doing what I don't think very few people thought would happen, but actually sweep the Blackhawks in the playoffs.
Maybe only the guys in that room, Lindsay. The Preds on the verge of doing something very special, but the Blackhawks are not done until you win 4, so I don't think anybody will look past what could happen on Thursday night. Lindsay, I got to be honest, I hope you're out of work on Friday, because that means the Preds have moved on to round 2 and we don't have to worry about any more series and its national broadcast from that point on. But thanks for coming on. I know you're nursing kind of a hoarse voice tonight. Rest it up. Get ready for Thursday. Have a good one. And I hope we can talk a few more times before this playoff run is end.
I hope so too. You know what? I never really wish to not be working, but at this point, if we win on Thursday, I will gladly take a back seat to the national broadcast. It's
a nice problem to have in this case. Lindsay, thanks so much. Have fun on Thursday.
Cool. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, Lyndsay Rowley from Fox Sports Tennessee, ringside reporter for the Nashville Predators. You can follow her on Twitter at Lyndsay Rowley. And by the way, catch out her interviews from last night, because what an emotional scene it was. And as she described, not even having her mic running out to the bench after Kevin Fiala scored and pulling it all together and getting the emotions of the moment right then, but also getting Ryan Johansson moments later, and then Peter Laviolette to really open up on what was one of the biggest wins in franchise history, to come back from 2 goals down in the 3rd period and then win in overtime against your rival to go up 3-0 for the first time ever in a series. Just a big, big win for the Predators last night. Our phone lines are open still, 737-7767, completely open bank of lines if you'd like to get in on the conversation now. When we come back, we'll hear from the star of last night's game, young Kevin Fiala. Just 20 years of age, but the Swiss maestro came up big last night in OT as the Preds took complete control of their series against the Blackhawks. More SportsLine on the way right after this.